Welcome to today's Vocabulary Explainer. We're going to completely transform how you describe the twisting, turning world around you. We're taking just one single, really powerful word today, and we're going to unpack it so thoroughly that it literally becomes a permanent, vivid part of your everyday language.
So let's just dive right into it. I want you to imagine a mountain road. Think about the physical reality of driving, or maybe walking, up a really steep incline. That road almost never goes straight up, right? Instead, it curves gently to the left, it wraps around a steep rock face, it turns back sharply to the right, and then sweeps left again. Well, that specific twisting, winding shape, that graceful, continuous bending, can be perfectly described with the word we're mastering today.
But hey, before we go any further into its meaning or how to use it, we actually need to get the feel of the word in our mouths. I want you to say this dynamic word out loud with me right now. Sin-you-us. Sinuous. It actually sounds a bit like the shape it describes, doesn't it? It's got this flowing, almost sweeping rhythm to it.
All right, so the absolutely crucial point here is this. As an adjective, sinuous describes something that is characterized by many curves or turns. It is the very essence of winding. When a path doesn't just move in a straight, predictable line, but instead bends, winds, twists, or gracefully flows in sweeping curves, that is when it's sinuous.
Now, if we look closely at this dictionary entry from Wordsmyth, you're going to see a secondary definition listed there as devious or crooked. But honestly, what we want to focus on for our foundational vocabulary is that primary, concrete definition. The most useful meaning for you to master first is the physical one, something that is simply full of turns and curves, kind of like a trellis completely covered with sinuous vines.
So let's just strip away all that dictionary jargon for a second and focus on what we call the living core of the word. The living core of sinuous is just the action of curving or turning again and again. It isn't just one single bend in the road, it's a continuous, flowing series of bends. And pinning down this living core, that's absolutely the best way to make sure this word actually sticks in your active vocabulary.
And a great way to illustrate the boundaries of this word is by looking at its total opposite. Sometimes the easiest way to figure out what a word means is to look at what it definitely does not mean. Take a straight, rigid hallway in a typical office building. It's got straight lines, 90-degree angles, and absolutely zero curves or turns. That is the exact opposite of our word. A sinuous path is everything that straight hallway isn't.
To really cement this in your mind, imagine you're on a hike right now, physically walking through a dense forest. The trail you're on doesn't just cut a straight line through the woods, no. Instead, it bends around massive old trees, it curves past giant boulders, and it gently winds right beside a flowing stream. And if your friend looks at the map and starts complaining about how twisty the route is, well, you now have the perfect, precise response. Yep, it is a beautifully sinuous trail. Now, if you're looking to add even more color to your vocabulary alongside today's word, you can easily swap in some of these great synonyms. You've got winding, which obviously means turning many times, and wavy, which kind of gives you the shape of ocean waves. Then there's tortuous, meaning totally full of twists. But my absolute favorite on this list, that would be serpentine. It just perfectly evokes the image of a curving, slithering snake, which gives you this fantastic visual link to the concept of a sinuous shape. So, let's look at how this word actually lives out in the wild. It pairs so beautifully with so many different nouns. We've talked about a sinuous walkway, a sinuous channel, or sinuous vines wrapping around a structure. But I absolutely love the phrase sinuous melody. It proves this word isn't only for things you can physically see with your eyes, but also for things you can hear. A piece of music that gracefully weaves and bends around different notes, that can be perfectly described as a sinuous melody. All right, let's test your active recall with a super quick interactive challenge just to make sure our living core definition is fully locked in. Take a look at these three options: a ruler, a winding river, or a square window. Based on everything we've just discussed about bends, twists, and avoiding straight lines, which of these options is most likely to be described as sinuous? Make your choice right now. I'll give you a second to lock it in.
And naturally, the winding river is the absolute winner here. Why? Because it gracefully curves and turns through the landscape, literally adapting to the earth around it. It just perfectly embodies our living core. On the flip side, the stiff, rigid, straight lines of a ruler or the sharp 90-degree angles of a square window, they completely lack the flowing curves required to be called sinuous.
Okay, now I want you to brainstorm and really lock this word into your brain. Let's step away from the multiple choice for a second. Close your eyes if you need to. What else out there in the wild, in the natural world around us, perfectly embodies this curving, twisting shape? See if you can come up with at least one vivid example in your head right now. Have you got one?
So, how did you do? If you pictured something like a snake slithering through the grass, a climbing vine wrapping its way up a garden trellis, maybe a river cutting gracefully through a canyon, or a forest trail dodging ancient trees, then you have absolutely nailed the essence of this word. You've successfully connected the vocabulary to real-world visual anchors, which is huge.
Just to recap everything we've learned in this explainer today, remember that the true heart of our word is all about its shape and movement. A sinuous thing fundamentally refuses to go straight. It outright rejects the rigid, the sharp, and the direct. Instead, it fully embraces the bend, the twist, and the sweeping turn.
And as you head out into the world today, I want to leave you with this final thought. Look around your environment. Whether you're commuting through a busy city, walking in a local park, or even just listening to a piece of music, see if you can spot the hidden, sinuous paths, shapes, and melodies waiting to be recognized. Now that you actually have the word for it, you might just start seeing it everywhere. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.